Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. I'm the Takanome, and welcome to my humble channels of the internet that are my Twitch and YouTube channels. How is everyone doing today? Hope that you're having a good day today, maybe even a good week, and if that's not the case, or if you're like me in a frozen city, well, I hope this reading stream is a bit of a bright spot to your day, and maybe even warm and cozy. Tonight, we are continuing reading Clockwork Twist, Book 11, Faith by Emily Thompson. Now, if you're new to the channel and you're wondering, who in the world is Emily Thompson? I've never heard of this person before. Well, allow me the honor to introduce them to you. Emily Thompson is a non-binary, apologies, I can't speak apparently. I'm sorry, I don't know if anyone heard that, but someone is really being loud with a motorcycle or modified car. But that's not important. What is important is the author. Emily Thompson is a non binary author and artist, originally from Northern California. Although they adore steampunk and all things Victoriana, they also write science fiction and fantasy. After studying film and animation in university, Emily changed to a Japanese language focus and studied in Tokyo. After receiving a language degree and spending a number of years abroad, they now live in Washington and spend most of their free time writing in coffee shops, painting, crocheting plushies, coding, and playing lots of cozy video games. Speaking of the author, we have a question from the author in chat. They wrote, "Wait, I can't sub to this channel. Do you need to hit some prerequisite followers or something first? Oh well, just use my Prime sub on the old Takanome channel." So, actually, I will talk about that soon. To be honest, probably get ready to talk about it now because before we start the reading stream, or reading the book, if you will, we normally go over the news or things that are happening with this channel and the reading stream. Now, last Saturday, we were supposed to switch over to both the new YouTube and Twitch channels permanently. Well, last Saturday we did not have the reading stream because I needed a break. To be perfectly honest, I just needed a break, so I spent that whole day playing Breath of the Wild from the beginning again and had fun. But you may be asking yourself, why Taka? I see that you have the new Twitch channel up and running, but I checked your YouTube channel and there's nothing there. But there's something on your old YouTube channel. What gives? Well, YouTube gives, that's what it is. I went to register the new YouTube channel before the stream today, and Google, in their infinite wisdom, told me that I had to wait 24 hours before I can actually live stream from the new channel. I believe it's their way to prevent bots or scams or so forth from just creating a channel and then starting streaming right away. However, well, it's a little bit of a pain in the ass. It is definitely inconvenient, but we still can stream on the old YouTube channel. So this Saturday will be the last time that we stream on the old YouTube channel for the reading stream. And Black Rose, hello, welcome. You had a YouTube? Yes, I do have a YouTube. I have technically two at the moment. If you want to see this stream on YouTube, you can check out the username the Takonome on YouTube and you will see the live stream there. But next week, it will go over to Taka Reads. And before continuing, Black Rose, Rita, how are you guys doing? Hope you're having a good day today. Other news for the channel. I believe I have more news for the channel. Oh, that's right. This is more for the Twitch channel than the YouTube channel. As Erudite has pointed out, you cannot sub to this channel, and yes, there are prerequisites for reaching that milestone. So This new channel, the Taco Reads channel, is a bit of a baby channel, if you will. Now, I'm not a baby to streaming, but the channel is. And there are, well, prerequisites before you can reach affiliate with Twitch. And if I remember correctly, I believe you have to stream at least 4 hours a month. You have to have, I believe, 50 followers, I want to say. And what were the other things? At least 50 followers, have at least 4 hours of streaming a month. I want to say have people in chat at least once or twice. I can't remember if chat was actually a factor, but the big factor for the reading stream or for the reading stream to reach affiliate, and this is the issue I had with the old channel to reach affiliate, is having an average of 3 viewers across all of your streams in, I believe, a week or so. I can't remember exactly what it was, but the magic number is 3 average viewers. So if the reading stream, this new reading stream on the Twitch channel, has at least 3 people watching each time we stream, preferably for the whole stream, it's only an hour and a half, if that, then yes, this channel will become affiliate and then you can subscribe and so forth. However, I think I've said this before multiple times. The reading stream is a hobby. I do not intend to turn this into a full-time career because that's a lot of work. And I already have a lot of work, which I cannot talk about on stream because confidential things. However, I will say that I enjoy doing the reading stream. I enjoy reading stories for everybody, including, well, in Erudice's case, their story, but other people's stories as well, including sometimes my story pops up once in a while. It's fun to do the reading stream. It's fun to read these stories and to see what happens. I have fun doing the voices as best I can. So the reading stream does not necessarily need financial support, if you will. However, naturally, I do appreciate all of the support that this channel and the YouTube channel receives, whether it's just turning it on and having it play in the background, because the algorithms don't know whether or not you're actually watching or not. They are not watching you yet. So, with that said, any support that any channel has, I really do appreciate it because for anyone who has streamed before, they can tell you that it's a little nerve-wracking to it feels weird to speak out into the internet and you're not sure if anyone is listening. And you have to tell yourself that people are listening or they will be listening in the future. So, again, all that said, basically what I want to say is thank you all for the support that you give these channels, monetary or not. But more importantly than supporting this channel with money, consider supporting the artists as well. I try to bring in artists who are, well, hopefully, I hope this is not an insult to anyone, including myself, but I try to bring in artists who are not backed by giant publishing houses, who are not super well known. These are people like you and me, if you will, except we wrote stories, who, or maybe you wrote stories too, who would maybe want some more exposure or anything like that. This is a way for me to help promote not only reading, but also writing and storycraft. And if you're into voice acting, maybe even a little bit of voice acting. So that's why I enjoy doing the reading stream. I personally just have fun doing it. Ace Lincoln. Well, Ace, really. Ace, hello, welcome. Ace wrote, they loosened the requirements. You only need $25 now. Oh, wow. Stream for 4 hours, stream on 4 different days, but still 3 average viewers. But it only has to be 3 average viewers on 4 different days instead of a whole 30-day period. Oh, that is nice. Okay. It is the 3 average viewers that will get me. But now, Ace, or anyone else who can check, just out of curiosity, when they say 3 average viewers on 4 different days, is that within a time period or it's just in total? Because if it's within in total, then we can do this. With the Takanome channel, with the Takanome channel, wow. The hardest thing for me was to have 3 average viewers across 30 days. And I do not remember how I did that. It took about a year and a half for me to reach affiliate with the old channel. And I know there are people who reached affiliate within a week, but there's always that question of longevity with a streamer. But I digress. So, if you want to help the Twitch channel reach affiliate so you can give me money, not sure why you want to do that. I still say you should give your money to the artist. But if you just want to give me money, then we need to have at least 3 viewers per stream until we reach affiliate. Then after that, you could just say, it's Taka. You can just ignore him. He's affiliate now. He doesn't need to be too big. But with that said, and I really can't stress this enough, either way, affiliate or not, I do appreciate all of you for joining the reading stream, supporting it, telling friends, family, and when we have them, contributing stories to the reading stream. And Ace Lincoln wrote, I think is 4 different days within 30 days. Let me see if I can find confirmation. Okay. And there was something else I was going to bring up about streaming or the channels in general, which I cannot think of what it is right now. Oh, one thing, me personally, naturally, I'm not going to ask for your money. But if we do a good video, if we get affiliate for this channel, the Twitch channel, sorry, YouTube, but if we get it for the Twitch channel, then we could have emotes. I do not know why we have to wait for emotes or wait for affiliate to finally use emotes on our own channel or upload our own emotes. But once we reach affiliate, then I can make some new emotes for this channel specifically. I have a couple ideas what I might want to make. Something book related probably, but I think it would be fun to finally have emotes again for the channel. Oh, and that's what I remember what I wanted to say earlier. I want to find a way to schedule time for shorter stories for the reading stream. So something similar to what we did for Halloween, where I put out feelers for different short stories, maybe with a theme or whatnot. And we have people contribute those short stories, and we have a day, maybe once every 2 to 3 months, to read those stories. That is what I'm thinking at the moment, but I'm still mulling it over because I do have to juggle that, any background work with the reading stream with, well, life and actual work. But do keep in mind that I'm thinking of other ways we can expand the reading stream and have more people participate and contribute if they would like. And with that, I believe that is everything for the news. As far as I know, we will not have any more cancellations this year for the reading stream. We only have 3 Saturdays left after today, which, wow, 2025 is almost done. And Ace Lincoln has an update for us, everyone. Yeah, I was right. Typical. Okay, Ace, you're not always right, but We'll save that for another time. Per Twitch, reach a minimum of 3 average viewers over any 4 stream days in the last 30 days. Days below 3 average viewers don't count against you. Okay. So it sounds like I need to stream for a whole month, so 4 Saturdays. Well, they said 30-day average or 30 days period, so essentially, we just have to try to have at least 3 people for each stream. Erudite wrote, "Not sure 2026 will be any better, but I'm glad 2025 is almost over." It is very questionable for people who live in the States, in America, or United States, I should say, because America is technically 2 continents. For those who live in the United States, questionable how 2026 will go, but this is not a political stream. This is the reading stream. Ace wrote a couple more things. I think the 3 average won't be hard for this channel, though. I'm usually lurking. Everybody's always here. Rozzy and probably a few other people are likely lurking too. And we got to get you those followers. Yes. And I swear, I keep saying this. I really do appreciate everyone who is supporting this channel. I know, based on Ace's calculation, I will say the fact that I've been streaming for quite a while really helps with finding 3 average viewers compared to when I first started, where I had to beg and plead and maybe blackmail some people to stay. But I'm happy that I do not necessarily have to beg, plead, and blackmail you for joining this reading stream. I hope not. But we need to get to the story because it's almost 20 minutes past the hour here. So, Clockwork Twist, Book 11, Faith by Emily Thompson. A quick recap before we get into the story, and then we will start. For most of his life, Twist has always been alone. Orphaned as a baby, he would usually repair clocks in a quiet, cozy shop in London. Thanks to his sight, his supernatural ability, he could repair just about anything simply by touching it to find what is broken. Unfortunately, this worked with people, thus making it virtually impossible for him to make any physical contact with others. His life changed when a young woman requested his help to mend the mythical Clockwork Princess. Since then, he has discovered new worlds and made powerful friends and allies along the way. With his sky pirate friend Jonas and his wonderful clockwork fiancée Mira by his side, the world is a little easier to manage. It is not all fun and games, though. Dangerous and ancient forces wish to see his demise and will do anything to make it come true. Through the use of spells and wit, Twist and his friends have managed to avoid their grim fates. Until now. With a war between the Fae and the Sighted underway, Twist and his friends may finally have to confront their fates. No more running, no more hiding. Now, they are heading to a battlefield. How will they fare? I will say it is hard to stand up and read something on the computer. But we do what we can. So again, this is Clockwork Twist, Book 11, Faith, by Emily Thompson. We are currently on page 64. We got our tea ready to go. In fact, let's see if we can take a quick sip here. Let's begin. For the first time in days, Twist's dreams were tranquil. He didn't remember much of them when he awoke, but now waking up in terror was a vast improvement. He wondered idly if the adventure before him had something to do with his dreams. Whether there was danger on the horizon or not, his life felt well under control now that there was a plan before them. Jonas had woken him as promised, when the sky was still black. Feeling refreshed even after a sleep shorter than he would have liked, Twist dressed quickly and joined Jonas on the bridge to find a field of light on the ground below, beside a black sea. A single brilliant beam swung through the night, spinning at a point far out to sea, away from the clearly described coast and its innumerable tiny lights. There's the lightship, Jonas said, pointing to the lonely beam of light. We should slow down before we pass it, or we'll miss the port. Twist nodded and descended to the lower bridge, where he followed Jonas's orders, feeling the airship turn as it slowed until it was finally brought to a full stop. To Twist's surprise, everyone on the ship had slept for a while, but had all roused from sleep when the airship approached land. The crew and guests met on the deck while Kima secured the Icarus to one of the many tall towers above the airship docks. Like the airship docks in London that Twist knew well, these tall towers of iron stood at the edge of the harbor. It seemed to Twist that they needed to raise a few more of these structures, as almost every spot was filled. Some airships were also moored at the sea docks below, hanging just above the lapping harbor waves. And even at this late hour, the Icarus wasn't the only ship coming in, while many others were on their way out. A porter in a sharp black uniform helped to run out an iron gangplank to the ship once it was tied to the dock. Good evening, the porter said, stepping aboard with a clipboard in hand. Can I have the ship's name and origin, as well as an estimate of how long she'll be staying? He asked, the words spoken quickly and easily, as if he could recite them in his sleep. We're just staying a couple hours, right? Jonas asked the others. It's the middle of the night, Kima mentioned in surprise. Don't we have to wait till morning to resupply? This is New York, Jonas answered. They don't really get the concept of sleep in the city. The porter smirked at this, but nodded in agreement. Many of the storehouses are open all hours, he agreed. I should check in then with the rooks before we leave, Tasha mentioned, but that won't take long. Right. Then a couple hours it is, Jonas said. Mira, will you be a pet and pay the man? Yes, of course, Mira said happily, stepping forward. Once the business of docking was finished, it became clear that no one wanted to stay on the airship for this short pause. Twist considered going back to bed, but decided against it simply because he would have to get up and help Jonas with takeoff in a little while. So instead, he offered Mira his arm and walked with her and the others down the dock stairs into the city below. Twist had been to New York City once before, in daylight, but as he strolled down the streets with Mira, the city seemed just as active and busy near midnight as it did in the day. The buildings loomed tall and imposing, with lamps burning in many of the windows, while the streetlights shone out their amber light with fierce conviction. The crowds were prevalent, but thin enough for Twist to traverse without mishap. Cabs and trolleys rushed down boulevards, workmen hurried to and fro in every direction, and Twist even spotted a fair few gentlemen and chaperoned ladies in finery as well. Many shops and restaurants appeared to be closed for the night, but there was still plenty that were open, entertaining all manner of customers. Tasha and Nico voiced their plan to head straight for Hudson's, a rock-safe house and cafe that Twist had been to on his last trip to New York to check on the status of the war front. Twist now knew that there were cafes named Hudson's in lots of different cities around the world, all of them run by rooks, but consider the name of the river this particular Hudson's overlooked, he suspected that this one was the first to have the name. When Mira stated with concern that Twist and all the rest of them had skipped dinner, everyone agreed to join Tasha and Nico at the cafe as soon as they were finished shopping for supplies and have something to eat there. Is it a good idea for me to go there? Kima asked Tasha. I thought you didn't want the rooks to know about me. Tasha shook her head casually. There are plenty of rooks from many tribes like yours. Displaced people have a tendency to find their way to the rooks after all, she added with a saddened sigh. Even if anyone recognizes your features and guesses at where you're from, they'll never think that you're a Nuchu. Kima gave a quiet tone and nod in reply to this. Tasha seemed slightly confused by her reaction, but didn't press the point. Jonas also seemed concerned, but he didn't comment either. With swift farewells, Tasha and Nico slipped away into the city. Well, Mira said, taking Kima's arm the way that she usually took Twist. Let's go shopping, shall we? She asked with sunny delight. Kima's dark mood brightened instantly under Mira's charms, and she smiled back, nodding. Twist, Jonas, and Pamut followed after Mira and Kima when they turned toward a warehouse district between the river and a busy-looking train line, in search of fuel and other necessities. The women turned their full attention to their task, both seeming perfectly at ease now. Watching Kima and Mira sort out prices, fuel varieties, and eager sellers, Twist was amazed by how adept they both were at the task. Thinking back, he realized that he'd been personally absent from these resupply excursions until now. The two women worked brilliantly together. Kima knew exactly what she wanted and how much she wanted to pay, and Mira was personable enough with everyone to make the transaction smooth and pleasant. I have to ask, Twist said after they had finished buying the fuel. Why do you haggle at all? Your purse can pay any price. If you don't act like the price matters, Kima answered, they don't take you seriously. It caused trouble before. Now we always pretend that we care. Kima worked that out, Mira added as they walked on to the next bustling warehouse. She's very good at all of this. I used to help my mother barter when I was a girl, Kima said with a shrug. I guess I learned from her. Is there anything you can't do, Kima? Jonas asked, his tone remarkably devoid of sarcasm. It seems like you're just good at everything. I can't cook, she answered swiftly, or do magic, or fix things like Twist can. Or take a compliment, Jonas added. Kima looked at him with a moment of sheepish chagrin, and Jonas very nearly let her catch his uncovered gaze. Well, if you keep handing them out, I'm sure I'll get the hang of it eventually, she muttered flatly, a smile slipping out the corner of her mouth. Jonas smiled back, clearly enjoying himself more than a gentleman really ought to. A sudden, sharp popping sound cut through the air, and two figures appeared out of thin air, directly in front of them. Mira shrieked in surprise, clinging tightly to Twist's arm as her startled fright rushed into his sight and fueled his own. Kima grabbed Pamut by the arm, pushing him behind her while she faced the new apparitions. Jonas frowned at the figures in alarm, his eyes flashing over them both swiftly, while carefully not to catch their gazes. Vane, what the hell? Jonas shouted, his alarm switching quickly to annoyance. Here we're going to take a chapter break. I did not see Vane coming back like this. So now I wonder if Idris, the genie, is also with Vane. I'm looking forward to the next chapter. And now that also means I have to remember Vane's voice. For those who do not know, the last time we saw Vane, I believe, was chapter 5? Or book 5, if not book 6. We are about 5 or 6 books away from the last time we saw Vane. And I think the last time I did his voice would be about 2 years ago. I remember the inspiration behind his voice. The question is, can I do his voice again? But it's been 2 years, so we'll see. Oh, the author wrote 4, I think. Book 4 was the last time we may have seen Vane. This should be interesting. Erudite wrote, can't remember if he was still around for 5. I thought 5. 6 absolute latest, but 5 looks correct to me. but it could very well be 4. Nevertheless, everyone, thank you for joining this reading stream. I hope you are enjoying the story as well as the reading of this story. I'm going to take another sip of tea here. Now, some of the longtime viewers may be asking, Taka, what tea are you drinking and is it time? Well, it is not time, but I will tell you soon enough. Although if you are a regular of the reading stream, you probably know which tea I'm drinking. But we will wait on that. Mm. Well, I will say this. Although this tea is delicious, it is not the criminally delicious tea. Who knows, maybe we'll do that next stream. A little bit of stretching, warming up here. Okay. And I believe we are ready for the next chapter. So let's find out why Vane is here in New York City. I would imagine no, we'll see what he looks like. So let's go into the next chapter. Twist was startled by Vane's sudden appearance that he hadn't even recognized the kitsune at first. Vane stood before them, looking rather a mess. His wide-sleeved, deep purple tunic and gathered trousers were marred by random patches of melting snow, as if he'd just been in a fierce snowball fight. His black eyes were filled with alarm, and he clutched at the side of his throat with one hand. He began to speak, but his voice came out in a croak before he collapsed forward. Already standing in front of him, Jonas had little choice but to catch him. Vane's strength failed him completely, and Jonas was forced to drop to one knee, clutching the semi-conscious kitsune in his arms. He's freezing, Jonas said, looking down at Vane in utter confusion, while Vane's body began to shiver so violently that Twist could see it. The person who had appeared with Vane gasped in horror and dropped to crouch beside them. He reached out to Vane to turn his senseless eyes toward him, revealing a glowing blue mark like a spiderweb on the skin of Vane's throat. Twist and the others gasped at the sight of it. The mark surrounded what looked to Twist like a glowing blue shard of ice stuck into Vane's flesh. His normally pale skin was going dangerously white, and the area closest to the shard was turning blue right before their eyes. Please hide him, the stranger begged, looking at Jonas in terror. Whatever you do to hide yourself, you must do it now. They'll find us again. In all of the confusion, it took Twist a second to realize that the other young man was also a kitsune. Like Vane. He looked to be no more than 20, but his nose and ears were just a little too pointed and long to be actually human at all. His eyes were very unusual as well, the right one bright blue and the left the color of one emerald. Despite his apparent youth, his shoulder-length hair was gray and peppered with rusty red and white. He wore a tunic and trousers as well, but of copper and black, and Twist thought he counted 3 bushy, gray foxtails hanging from the back of his tunic. What? Jonas asked him, clearly still reeling from the kitsune's sudden appearance. What the devil is going on? Why is it getting colder? He added, looking to Vane's shivering form. That's a phase curse, Pumut shouted. I've seen it before. It'll freeze him solid if I don't dispel it. It'll kill him? The other kitsune asked in horror. Mira gasped. Pumut, dispel it right now, Jonas ordered quickly. What do you need? Just hold him steady, Pumut said, rushing forward. Vane's black eyes closed slightly as he struggled to breathe and seemed to drift in and out of consciousness. Twist stared in bewilderment as Pumut immediately got to work, muttering to himself and holding a glowing orange ball of light, which had appeared in his hand, up to Vane's neck. Jonas did as he was told, keeping Vane still as best he could with all of the kitsunes shivering. The other kitsune remained close, holding tightly to Vane's hand. Kima turned to Twist. He said they're running from someone, and that wound is fey magic, she said sharply. You're right, Twist replied, suddenly following her meaning. He took Mira's hand, pulling her closer to him and letting her fright wash over his sight as he looked around him, but found nothing but ordinary workmen, loading and offloading all manners of things from a train into the warehouses. Most of the men didn't seem at all inclined to get involved, but some shot Vane and the others curious or worried glances. Twist didn't, however, spot any satyrs or other fey creatures rushing to attack them. A gasp from Vane's direction drew Twist. A gasp from Vane's direction drew Twist's eyes back to him. Pamut now held the shard carefully between thumb and finger, having pulled it free of Vane's throat, and Vane seemed to be coming around. There was no blood on the shard at all, even though it looked as sharp as a knife, and there was no obvious wound in Vane's skin. Vane's complexion was already growing warmer, the icy mark dissipating swiftly to nothing at all, and he was gasping in breath as if he had been holding it. He blinked his eyes open to clear them and looked about him. As he seemed to realize that it was Jonas holding him, his expression washed over with relief.
Johnny, you're all right,
Vane murmured, still out of breath.
I was so worried.
Jonas?
Pamut said, sounding frightened.
I think they can track this,
he said, pointing to the glowing shard in his hand.
They could be here any minute.
What? Oh no!
Vane yelped, sitting up straight now and seeming far stronger than he had been a moment before.
John, I didn't know,
he added, looking to Jonas desperately.
Give me that,
the other kitsune said, holding out his hand. Pamut did as he was told, and the kitsune vanished into thin air with a popping sound. The others jerked at this unexpected event. Vane? Really? What the hell? Jonas asked again, still crouching beside him. Before Vane could speak, a loud cracking sound to one side startled everyone again. This time, however, Twist didn't find any kitsune, but 3 satyrs with white fur, hair, brilliantly colored eyes, and goat-like beards. They each held glowing balls of light in their hands and wore frightening sneers. Terror shot through Twist's heart as Mira let out a shriek of fright, clinging tightly to him. Pamut seemed to freeze in place, but Vane let out a horrified sound and shot to his feet.
Run!
Vane shouted at Jonas, who was too stunned to move.
I'll fend them off!
Who's he talking to? One of the satyrs asked the others, pointing at Vane.
One of them is here!
The other cried suddenly.
But where? Damn, that charm!
All at once, Twist's understanding snapped into place. Thanks to their charms, he and his crew were all invisible to these fey creatures. But Vane had no charm. The satyrs advanced on him, their magical weapons raised to throw. The other kitsune reappeared suddenly with a faint popping sound, and then gasped in horror at the sight before him. The satyrs paused, startled by him. Without a moment of hesitation, the kitsune reached for Vane. Wait! Jonas shouted, jumping to his feet and grabbing a hold of the kitsune's wrist. Come and find us again once they're gone. The kitsune looked back at Jonas as he spoke, but the satyrs clearly didn't hear him at all and rushed at Vane and the other kitsune again. Without another word, the 2 kitsune vanished with a popping sound. The satyrs stopped their attack and wailed in anguish.
He was talking to someone,
one of them shouted, silencing the other 2. The 3 of them stopped to look around them slowly, searching. Twist and the others backed away from them. The satyrs' eyes were looking right through them all. Twist's heart raced, knowing full well that these creatures would kill him the instant they found him. He knew that they couldn't see or hear him or the others, but he found himself holding his breath and looking for things to hide behind.
This is useless,
one of the satyrs snapped suddenly.
Even if they're both here, we'll never find them. You, Huron!
Another bellowed, advancing on a workman who was standing nearby, watching the magical beings with an understandably confused expression.
Do you see anyone standing around here?
What? The workman balked, startled. Twist now noticed that quite a few of the workmen had noticed the satyrs by now, and there was a crowd growing. We should go, Kima said darkly. Twist and the others agreed. They began to creep carefully away, all trying not to disturb anything around them as they went.
Tell me human, or I'm turning you into a toad,
growled the satyr, raising his glowing ball of light on the workman. The man yelped and dropped the crate he was carrying, running faster than Twist would have thought possible, away into the nearest warehouse, while the others scattered as well. The satyr let out a frustrated scream and threw his ball of light at the ground. It burst like shattered glass, sending shards of ice crashing into a wide circle. The satyrs shouted rude things after the frightened workmen as they fled, but no one slowed. In a moment, everyone was gone.
Come on, let's go,
one of the satyrs grumbled to the others.
We got to find that nasty fox. He's the last chance we have. We can't lose him. You're right,
the other satyr agreed, pulling a scroll out of thin air to examine.
The curse I hit him with is in the middle of China now. Ah, nasty foxes,
another grumbled.
Jumping everywhere. Come, let's go. If we lose him now, the queen will have our hooves for castanets.
With no more conversation on the point, the three satyrs gathered close together, took each other's hands, and then vanished into thin air with a loud cracking sound. Left suddenly in silence, Twist and the others stopped in their careful retreat and looked to each other in disbelief. Pamut let out a long, relieved breath, clutching the charm that hung around his neck in one hand and his mother's hand in the other. Are you all right? Kima asked him, bending to look him in the eye, her free hand gently caressing his face. Pamut nodded, and Kima turned to the others. They're gone, aren't they? She asked. For now, at least, Jonas answered. He was absently grasping the inside of his left arm, where his tattooed charm lay hidden under his sleeve. The fluttering unease and the buzzing at Twist's neck didn't help him gather his own calm. Twist put his watch back into his waistcoat pocket and noticed that the hard edge of the winding knob had left an impression on his palm, thanks to the strength of his own grip on it.
But what happened to Vane?
Mira asked.
Where did he come from? Where did he go? What in the world is going on?
That's why I told the other one to come back, Jonas said. I'd rather like to know myself. But while we're waiting, do we have any more charms? No, we gave the last ones to everyone on the Vamana, Kima said, shaking her head. Well, is there any way to hide Vane from Faye without one? Jonas asked, looking to Pamut.
He'll be safe on his ship as long as he's awake,
Pamut answered.
The ship isn't invisible to the Fae, but everything inside it is. And no voices can leave it either.
That'll do for now, Jonas said. He looked to Twist, his eyes yellow with concern. Vane's a Kisane, and he has my name. That means he can follow me anywhere. You heard what those satyrs said. Now that the fairies know about Vane, we have to make sure they can't get to him.
He has your name?
Pamut gasped.
Then he can make himself look just like you.
Yes, and it's highly unnerving when he does it, Jonas grumbled. But the bastard is only in this mess right now because of me. Jonas's guilt flashed hot and painful like a fire through the buzzing in Twist's neck, making Twist wince once again. We'll do what we can to help him, Twist said to Jonas. Jonas gave Twist a grateful look. Twist didn't have many pleasant memories of the irreverent fox, but he still bore a scar that Vane had given him. But as annoying and troublesome as Vane could be, he had changed from enemy to ally over the course of their acquaintance. And right now, right after being attacked and hurt by some strange Fey weapon and nearly frozen solid, he not hesitated an instant to try to help Jonas escape. Protecting him in return was the least they could do to repay such fervent loyalty, no matter who he was. Here we're taking a chapter break. Oh my. I'm not sure if I have any other words. Oh my. Now, we knew that there was a war going on, and we know that the Fae are looking for Twist and Jonas. But for it to appear that suddenly is, well, these are magical beings, so I suppose that could happen, yes. But oh my. I'm looking forward to seeing what happens next. But, as we all know, as I sip this rather delicious tea, a delicious tea that I drink almost every Saturday for the reading stream when reading this series. And I know what you're thinking, even if you're not thinking it. Taka, what drink are you drinking? Well, this tea is the Clockmaker, a favorite of the stream. The ingredients are roasted green tea, orange peel, black tea, pure tea, rose petal, and pine smoke. Taka, that sounds like a delicious drink, but where, oh where, on God's green earth can I find something that delicious? I would love to put that in my mouth. Well, dear listener, I'm hoping you're not too turned on by that, but dear listener, allow me the opportunity to tell you about a little tea shop. A tea shop that we all love. A tea shop that supplies me with teas after I pay them. A tea shop that is dear to our hearts. Friday afternoon, the tea shop in Seattle, Washington. That's right, it is time for Friday afternoon sponsorship. That's not a sponsorship because I don't have a sponsorship with sponsorships, but I pretend that they sponsor me anyway because it is fun. Though they're not a sponsor, sponsorship, Friday afternoon, the tea shop in Seattle, Washington. If you go to their website, www.fridaytea.com, you will find a wide variety of teas that I know will tickle your fancy. In fact, allow me the opportunity to tell you about today's tea, Nepali breakfast. Now, this tea seems to be available all year. I do not see anything saying that it is a seasonal tea, which, if you are into Friday afternoon seasonal teas, it is now time for the winter season. So, the fall season ended this Wednesday, actually. So, I made sure I got some of my fall favorites in before the season was over, and now it's time for the winter one. But this one, Nepali's breakfast, is available year round. And the description goes as follows. On the side of the second highest mountain in the world, Nepal's finest tea farmers model a community-based network that puts its workers and their families first. We are proud to partner with the... Now, apologies, I do not know Nepalese. We are proud to partner with the Kachanga estate. Kanchanjunga. Kanchanjunga. I believe that's correctly. I'll put that in chat. Estate. To carry this farmer-crafted blend of black tea, aromatic cinnamon leaf, and warming spices. Try with milk and honey for a bolstering breakfast brew. Ingredients: black tea, ginger, black cardamom, cinnamon leaf, and black pepper. There are 2 reviews for this tea, both 5 stars. The first person wrote a review back in February of 2025, and they wrote, "This is a gift, so I hope they like it. Fast delivery and good packaging." Doesn't quite tell us about the tea now, does it? I'm not sure why they left that review, but fast delivery and good packaging? It makes me wonder if they actually bought it, to be perfectly honest. I've seen that kind of language for eBay and Etsy reviews and so forth. But the next review from November of 2024 is by an actual person. They wrote, "Spicy and good. I bought this tea because the description said it was made with cinnamon leaves, and I wanted to know what they tasted like. They're so fragrant. They smell almost like cinnamon, but not quite. In a way, I keep making more tea to try to figure out. I also really like adding a spoonful of this tea to my coffee grounds when I brew coffee. It makes a great spiced coffee slash dirty chai situation, depending on your ratios. Well, we have one definitely confirmed review there. So again, this is Nepali breakfast. It is available year round, and you can find it on Friday afternoon's website at www.fridaytea.com. Again, that is www.friday, like the day, and tea, like the drink.com. And again, they do not pay me to do this. They do not blackmail me. They do not bribe me. They do not sweet talk me into doing this either for free. No, no. And they also do not whisper sweet nothings in my ear in the middle of the night. I just enjoy their tea. And I'm going to put in chat the name of this estate here. It's a Kan Chang Janga. I believe that looks right. One moment, I'm going to double check my spelling here. Because again, I do not know Nepalese. That is not my second language. Hindsight, I could have copied and pasted. So we're going to do that instead. I think I did spell it correctly the first time. And this is the estate that they've mentioned. I will say, I personally, and this is just my own preference here, I do enjoy the spicy teas. There is something about a spicy tea that really tickles the senses, for me personally. Now, I was going through my collection of teas that I still need to actually go through one day, and I found some teas that I'm not sure what I'm going to do with because, again, this is me personally, and I know that some may call me a heathen for this, but I am not a fan of chocolate. And when you buy tea from Friday afternoon, they also give you sample packets. And some of these sample packets that I've received, they contain chocolate. I'm like, I'm not sure what I'm going to do with this here. But either way, I prefer the spicy teas with the exception of the Fairy Queen because we all know that that drink, that tea in particular, is criminally delicious. I'm not sure why it's allowed out in society, but it is out in society for us all to enjoy. So I believe the Nepali breakfast actually sounds very nice. But again, Friday afternoon, the tea shop Seattle, Washington, and again, they do not pay me to do this. I just enjoy doing it. Erudite. Erudite wrote, doesn't like chocolate. He's a robot. No, I am not a robot. No, I am not a robot. And as I've told, well, I post this on the Blue Sky, I suppose, post before stream, that this stream is not AI. I believe that's also a tag for my Twitch channel that no AI here. We do not use AI for this stream. Which reminds me, I would like to find a new photo for the background. And I believe I mentioned this not too long ago, maybe last month, that the more I look at this photo, the less real it looks. I would like to think it's just a painting, but I question. And now that I've questioned it, I think I don't think it's an AI photo because I found it before ChatGPT, but still it's it's a little uncanny. It's a little bit of that uncanny valley vibe. And I'm starting to not enjoy it like I used to back in the day. So I'm also looking for a new photo or at some point, maybe just go to a very old library and snapping a few photos, quietly, of course. We shall see. But if you happen to have photo ideas that you would like to see for the reading stream, well, let me know. I do have a Blue Sky account. You could also send me a message via Twitch or YouTube, or if you're part of the Discord from the old channel on Twitch, you could send me photos there, or if you're like one viewer or two viewers who may have my personal phone number, you could send me a text. Checking the time here. Oh, we are approaching the end here of the stream tonight. We have about 30 minutes to go. So we're going to take another sip of tea. My poor feet. Currently shaking out my legs here. We're getting ready to go into the next chapter. I'm also curious about listeners' ideas here or opinions. When I do Vane or the satyrs or mythical creatures, I sometimes wonder if the words are coming across clearly enough with the voices. I'm hoping yes, but sometimes I wonder. Nevertheless, we're going to go back into the story. So, we are now on page 76. So with that, let's continue. Jonas assured them that Vane would be able to find him if they returned to the Icarus, and Pamut agreed, stating that the fairy wards did nothing to block Kitsune magic. According to Pamut, the two magics were completely separate and worked very differently. Not more than a moment after Twist and the others stepped back onto their airship, Vane and the other Kitsune reappeared with another popping sound. They all jerked at the sound, but relaxed when they saw a pair of Kitsune instead of satyrs.
Are they gone?
The other Kitsune asked anxiously. Yeah, they left and said they were off looking for you, Jonas answered. But this ship is warded, so you should be safe here.
As long as you don't sleep.
Pamut added. Right. But we'll work that out too, Jonas said with a nod.
Thank you, Johnny,
Voice said, his voice quaking with fresh shivers. He hugged himself, starting to shake visibly once again.
He's getting cold again,
the other Kitsune said, drawing close and rubbing at Vane's back and arms.
This magic is so strong. What's wrong with him?
Jonas and the others looked to Pamut to answer. He looked back at them nervously.
It must be the after effects of the curse,
Pamut said.
I got it off him, but it might take a while for his body to warm up again. I mean, that's what would happen to a human anyway. Well, let's warm him up, shall we?
Mira asked, moving closer to Vane. She put her clockwork arm around him and led him toward the kitchen, speaking gently to him all the way. Vane accepted her attention gladly, giving no protest at all. The other Kitsune hung close beside them, while the others followed. By the way, Jonas said to Pamut softly as they walked, you've been a tremendous help tonight. I just want to make sure you know your help is appreciated. Pamut stared up at him in surprise, clearly having no previous idea that his efforts had been even noticed. Jonas patted the boy on the shoulder, while Pamut smiled up at him with pride. Once Vane was placed in a chair at the kitchen table, Mira immediately set to work making a pot of tea and also got a fire going in the oven to warm the room. Kima grabbed an extra blanket from a cupboard and draped it around Vane's shoulders. Vane smiled up to her gratefully, pulling the blanket tight around him. The other Kitsune sat close beside him at the table, rubbing at Vane's back and watching him with deep and obvious concern. Twist and Pamut both sat as well, while Kima stood by the window and Mira watched the kettle impatiently. So, Jonas prompted, sitting in the chair on Vane's other side. I gather those satyrs are after you because you have my name, and maybe you were hoping you could hide from the Fae. We could hide you from the Fae, and so you came here. But how do they even know that we knew each other? And how did you end up getting cursed?
I don't know how they found out about me.
Vane said, still shivering, but his voice sounded stronger now.
I was sound asleep, having a lovely dream about.
He paused suddenly, looking at Jonas sharply.
Anyway, I was asleep, and suddenly they were there. 3 satyrs shaking me awake and demanding I leave them to you. When I refused, they started throwing really cold glowing balls of magic at me.
Here you are.
Mira said, placing a steaming cup on the tea. Apologies. Mira said, placing a steaming cup of tea on the table in front of Vane.
You drink that now.
Thank you, Mira,
Vane said, seeming as grateful as one could possibly be for a cup of tea. He picked it up and clutched the cup tightly in his hands, sipping at it.
Would anyone else like some tea?
Mira asked, looking directly at Twist. Twist gave her a half-hearted nod, more to please her than himself. A few of the others responded, but Jonas remained silent and thoughtful for a moment. So you refuse to help them? Jonas asked, his tone somber. Twist noticed a low heat in the buzzing at his neck, a smoldering sense of guilt.
Of course I did,
Vane replied, confused by the question.
Whatever they want with you, it can't be good.
Actually, they mean to kill me, Jonas said darkly. Twist too.
What? Why?
Vane gasped in alarm. Our sights, Jonas said, waving the whole situation away with a hand. It's complicated and really rather insane, but basically all the fairies are very keen on killing us, but Summer and Winter want to do it in different ways. Twist quietly thanked Mirror for the cup of tea she gave him before she moved off to give one to the other kitsune as well.
That's awful,
Vane murmured, looking deeply distressed by Jonas's news. They attacked you? Jonas asked. Then what?
Well, then,
Vane went on.
I ran for Inari, but she couldn't do much. Kitsune magic just isn't meant for fighting, and especially not against Fae. So she said I should come to you. After all, if they were desperate enough to come after me, then you must be well hidden indeed. But I can't travel on my own yet, so Rafe brought me.
He added with a glance to the kitsune beside him. Right, names. I nearly forgot, Jonas said. He then quickly introduced the others to Rafe, never naming himself, to avoid letting anyone speak their own names in front of the kitsune. It was clearly bad enough that Vane had heard Jonas speak his own name long ago. Vane, however, frowned in confusion when Jonas introduced Pamut. Twist suddenly recalled that although Vane had met Kima before, the murderous satyr called Storm had been impersonating Pamut at that time, and Vane, of course, had no way of knowing anything about Storm's identity. After all, Vane had been off with Inari and the rest of his people, while Twist and his friends had traveled to Atlantis and rescued Pamut.
And you, of course, are Jonas,
Rafe said, once Jonas had finished.
Vane talks about you so much, I feel like we're already old friends.
Vane shot Rafe a sharp look, but only got a smirk in response. Jonas gave a sigh and rubbed at his eyes. I really don't know what to tell you people about me.
Anyway,
Vane said loudly, glancing around. His eyes caught on Pamut.
say, Storm, why do you smell different? And why aren't your eyes pink anymore? And why did Johnny just call you something else?
Pamut's eyes widened in surprise at being addressed directly at Storm. Storm was a satyr, pretending to be my son, Kima answered, moving to stand beside Pamut. She put her hands on his shoulders. Storm is gone now. This is my real son. His name is Pamut.
You rescued a changeling's victim?
That's the wrong voice. Apologies.
You rescued a changeling's victim?
Rafe asked, amazed.
How?
We found a magic doorway into Fairy and Atlantis, Kima answered.
You found Atlantis?
Vane asked, startled.
The Atlantis? A city of people who started all of this by letting fey souls inhabit human children? Wait, has anyone tried to get them to undo what they did so that we can all stop being attacked by satyrs?
He asked quickly, struck by sudden inspiration. The city was empty when we got there, Jonas answered.
Damn!
Vane muttered.
Well, at least you got your son.
He added to Kima.
And I have to say, he's a splendid fellow. Thank you for helping me, little one.
He added earnestly to Pamut.
Your magic is amazing.
Pamut smiled at this praise and muttered something like a thank you.
More tea?
Mira asked, pot in hand.
Yes, please,
Vane said, offering her his half-empty cup.
This tea is making me feel better already. I'm glad you and Twist are safe, with all these nasty satyrs after you.
Mira refilled his cup and smiled at his comment. Yes, about that, Jonas said, turning to the others. Do you have any theories about how these satyrs knew that Vane had my name? I mean, he hasn't even been anywhere near me for a while. Twist gestured to Rafe. He just said that Vane talks about you a lot. Thanks for reminding me, Jonas sneered back.
Are the Fae really listening to everything said on Earth?
Rafe asked, incredulous.
That would take a tremendous amount of effort, wouldn't it?
These days, I think they are.
Pamut muttered worriedly.
But you said you were asleep when they appeared, right?
He asked Vane.
They might have found your dreams and seen an image of Jonas in them. If you weren't protected, they would have been able to find you in the waking world right away.
Oh,
Vane breathed.
That's right. Fae can rock through dreams.
Jonas gave a groan, his head in his hands. This is getting ridiculous, he grumbled. It's bad enough that they want to kill me, and now they're going after everyone I know? He asked the others with frustrated anger. I know a lot of people. Are they all going to be attacked in the middle of the night because of me? Vane looked at him with sorrow, while the rest of them remained quiet. Twist felt an echo of Jonas's overwrought frustration like a heavy weight on his own thoughts, while the buzz in his neck went as cold as ice. He wanted to say something to dispel Jonas's fears, but couldn't come up with anything but his own concerns. The knowledge that the Rooks were also under attack from the Fae, as were all of the sighted, did nothing to help. Vane put his tea down and reached out to take Jonas's hand. Jonas looked at him sharply, but didn't pull away. Vane looked at him earnestly, making Jonas's eyes flit over him as he avoided catching his gaze.
Johnny, it doesn't matter what those satyrs do,
Vane said with a firm but gentle tone.
No one who loves you is going to help them. And besides, as far as I know, Arabella and I are the only ones who could find you without fake magic. And no matter how much you two might fight, Arabelle loves you, too. She wouldn't betray you either.
Jonas seemed very confused, but also rather stunned by this open and heartfelt assertion. Twist also looked at the usually irreverent and selfish Fox in amazement. He was not only correct, but also seemed perfectly honest in his words. In fact, nearly everything Vane had said, or more importantly, not said, stood out as being slightly out of character from his normal manner. Even under attack, he seemed calmer, more earnest, and hardly flirtatious. There were no cute turns of phrase, annoyingly incorrect assumptions, or unwanted contact at all. Even taking Jonas's hand as he had was more of a comforting gesture than anything else. You seem really different, Vane, Jonas said carefully. Vane took his hand back, and a sheepish smile crept onto his face. Rafe watched Vane with obvious pride.
Is it that obvious?
Vane asked softly.
Yes, sweetie,
Rafe said gently to him.
We told you it would be.
He then looked to Jonas.
He's grown since you last saw him. Our little Vane has 2 tails now.
While Kima didn't seem to understand the significance of this, The others clearly did, looking to Vane in amazement. What? You're 100 years old, all of a sudden? Jonas asked.
No,
Vane said with a pout.
I'm only 87.
I thought you only got a new tail every 100 years, Jonas pressed.
Normally, yes,
Rafe said.
but Vane is very mature for his age. So are you.
Vane replied, his cheeks going slightly pink.
You said you were only 273 when you got your third tail. I'm afraid that was a long time ago now,
Rafe said with a sigh.
He's only 87.
Kima asked skeptically.
He looks 19. They both do.
Why, thank you,
Vane said with a much more Vane-like wicked smirk. Rafe laughed lightly, clearly taking Kima's words as a compliment as well. He acts like he's 12, Jonas said flatly. Vane looked back at him unhappily. At least he used to, Jonas amended.
What's wrong with that?
Pombo asked hesitantly. Well, it's fine if you act like you're 12, Jonas said with a chuckle. You're supposed to. He's 87, he added, hooking a thumb at Vane. Vane gave a long, suffering sigh and picked up his teacup again. Well, I guess you're on the crew now, Jonas said, looking to the two kitsune. Will you be sticking around then, Rafe? It's Rafe, right? He asked, pronouncing the name carefully.
Yes,
To both,
to both questions.
Rafe answered pleasantly.
If you will allow me to stay, I'd like to. As he said, Vane can't use his magic to travel on his own yet. Inari asked me to stay with him until we can both return to her.
And that's no problem, Jonas said easily. We got other guests on board too, but there's still one cabin open. Do you mind sharing?
We usually like to sleep in fox forms,
Vane said with a shrug.
We don't take up much room. That sounds fine.
Rafe nodded, clearly having no trouble with it either. Twist watched Jonas in surprise. Had he missed the decision to invite Vane onto their crew, or had Jonas decided so easily that it had come and gone like a shadow? So, Jonas went on as if nothing odd had happened. Even though a couple satyrs just popped up and terrorized some workmen, he went on, they didn't see any of us. Doesn't that mean we can still leave the ship and meet with Tasha and Nico and hopefully pick up some new charms while we're out?
Sounds reasonable to me,
Twist said, nodding.
Those satyrs looked right through us, same as always.
Then let's do that, Jonas said, getting to his feet. Tasha and Nico will be wondering where we are, at this rate. You two stay here on the ship, he said to Vane and Rafe. You should be safe as long as you're on board.
And don't fall asleep,
Pamut added.
All right,
Rafe said, nodding to Pamut. He glanced up at Jonas.
Thank you. This is exactly what we hoped for. Yes, thank you, Johnny,
Vane said, looking up at him with all the earnest gratitude of a loyal retriever. Jonas shrugged a little awkwardly, the buzzing in Twist's neck a confusing mess of emotions for a moment.
I think I'll stay here too,
Vera said as the others moved to leave.
If anything should happen, or the magic isn't strong as we think, I could leave my puppet and warn you in an instant. Good thinking, dear,
Twist said, standing to join the others. Mira stepped closer to him and reached out to straighten his lapel and pick off a speck of dust.
Now, don't forget, you have a nice breakfast while you're out, and if you don't, I'll make you one myself,
she added, as if it were a threat. Yes, darling, Twist muttered, trying not to smile at her persistence. She leaned closer and placed a kiss on his cheek, her emotions as warm and comforting as a fragrant cup of Darjeeling. It wasn't until she calmed him that Twist realized he had grown tense and anxious on the back of everything that had just happened. He stole a moment to savor her soft copper smile, taking great comfort from the fact that no matter what happened, Alice's mirror never changed. We are going to take one more chapter break. I worked really hard not to laugh in the middle of the reading. Whew. I just realized this was still up. I'm still getting used to my controls here. As always, I want to thank everyone for joining this reading stream, whether you're here live or you're listening to the VOD on Twitch or YouTube. I hope that you're enjoying the story as well as the reading and the voices of the story. Additionally, well, I'm going to take a sip of tea here. Additionally, I do want to thank you all once again for supporting these channels. Whether you are just simply listening, having it play in the background, telling friends and families, follows, likes, well, I can't say subscriptions because you can't do that at the moment. But any way that you can support this channel, I do very much appreciate it. So thank you again. And on a personal note, my heels hurt. Ow. I wonder if there is a way to stand this long to do the reading stream without heels hurting. Maybe I should just move my legs a bit more. Like, pretend as if they're jello. I don't think jello feels pain. I haven't asked lately. But we have one more chapter for the evening. I am happy that I have some differentiation between Vane and Rafe's voice. Same high-pitch-ish nasally voice. But I was hoping because Rafe has 3 tails instead of 2 or 1, his voice or his pitch is a little deeper than Vane's. More like a young adult fox or kitsune, where Vane is still, I would say, going through fox puberty. Sort of. At some point, I don't know. At some point, I think Pamut should also finish. Apologies. The voice I have for Pamut when we were first introduced to him as the Satyr Storm. At that moment, I decided, you know what? I'm going to pretend that he's going through puberty, so his voice is going to be cracked. And that has been his voice ever since we've been introduced to this character. I do not know if he's ever going to reach teenagehood in the series. But if he does, then I have to come up with a new voice. And I don't know what it'll be yet. Erudite wrote a couple things here. You could try wearing low heels. That always helped me when I had standing jobs. I technically have a no shoe rule for the house, but who knows? Maybe there are house shoes with heels? Or maybe specifically shoes that I only wear in the house that are not house shoes, but they're only for house wearing. And Erudite also wrote, lol, fox puberty. I mean, I'm pretty sure all animals have to go through some sort of puberty, right? So I wonder what kitsune puberty is like. But that is a pondering for another time. Instead, we are going to go into our final chapter here. Let's see. Is this that's a decent sized chapter. So let's go into the final chapter of the evening. Password? Asked the young man with the gun behind the door in the back alley. The alley was narrow and dark, promising nothing spectacular in the buildings on either side. Through the door and behind the young man with the gun, Twist could see only the dim light of a single candle. The young man couldn't have been far into his 20s, with blue eyes, his blonde hair cut into a fashionable style. Damn, Jonas said with a frown, looking at the young man's small silver pistol. The young man chuckled. Sorry, Tom. That's not the password. I know Tasha gave it to us, Jonas said, turning to Twist, Kima, and Pamut, who stood behind him. But if I'm honest, with all of the being attacked and everything, I'm completely forgotten it. Oh, I remember, Twist said, suddenly finding the seemingly distant memory in his disordered thoughts. He stepped up to the young man with the gun confidently. Mr. Scrooge wasn't always so cruel. "Mm, that's more like it," the young man with the gun agreed, letting his aim drop. He stepped back and opened the door wide, inviting them in. Welcome to the Hudsons. Twist smiled back at Jonas. Bloody show off, Jonas grumbled, brushing past him and through the door. Twist chuckled as he, Kima, and Pumut followed Jonas up the iron spiral staircase at the back of the room, leaving the young man on the ground floor below. At the top of the stair, they found the cafe, just as Twist remembered it. The arched windows in 3 of the 4 walls in the wide open space would have let in plenty of sunlight if the sun had been out at the time. Tonight, the gas lamps set between the windows and the candle lanterns on each table held back the darkness with soft pools of amber light. Tall cages stood throughout the cafe, housing large, black sleeping birds, while a forest of potted ferns helped to better break up the cafe into secluded nooks and semi private tables. Like the rest of the city, the cafe was far from empty, despite the hour. Men and women in all manner of foreign and local customs sat together to talk quietly over coffee, filling the room with a low but constant murmur. A waiter with an impeccable trimmed and waxed mustache greeted them as soon as they arrived at the top of the stairs. How many in your party, please? He asked with a quickly spoken American accent. Oh, we're here to meet Natasha Samara, Jonas replied. Oh, the waiter said, seeming at once impressed and also smug, as if Jonas had suddenly risen on the social ladder to match him. Right this way, if you please. Jonas and the others followed him to find Nico sitting at one of the 2 otherwise empty round tables that were clustered close together amid the cages and ferns. Nico was reading from his small book again, and he looked relieved when he glanced up to them. I've been sitting here all alone for so long, I nearly forgot why I was here at all, he said, placing a bookmark and putting the book on the table. Do have a seat. I've already eaten, but go ahead and order whatever you like. It's all free to Tasha, and we could put it on her tab. The waiter stood by patiently and waited for them all to find seats before asking if they wanted anything. I seem to remember. Oh, that's the wrong voice. I seem to remember you had decent coffee here, Jonas answered first. Oh, yes, Twist said. Could I have a cup as well? Okay, wrong voice. Apologies, everyone. There's a lot of voices here. Can I have a cup as well? And you better eat something, or Mira will be cross with you, Jonas added, his tone mockingly sincere. Twist shot him a warning glare. Jonas chuckled, pleased as a cat on the kitchen table. I'm hungry too, Kima said, clearly trying to ignore them both as she looked to the waiter. Kima asked for something simple for herself and her son. Twist and Jonas both copied her order while the waiter nodded, jotting their orders down before turning to leave. Kima glanced around at the rooks, looking a bit nervous. Twist looked around as well, noticing that none of them seemed to even notice Kima's presence, just as Tasha had predicted. So, where's Tasha gone to? Jonas asked Nico. She's having a meeting in the mirror room, Nico said, nodding at the back wall of the cafe. Twist remembered there being a number of Rook Mirror communication stations behind the back wall of the Hudsons in Australia. She's been in there for ages, though. I suspect she'll be out soon. And what about you? What took you so long? I've got through 5 chapters. We were attacked by satyrs, Twist answered. Nico's face washed over with alarm. Is everyone all right? Wait, where is Mira? We're all fine, Jonas assured him. He then went on to explain the situation to Nico as quickly and simply as possible, which turned out to be rather difficult. As Jonas spoke, the waiter returned with a plate of eggs, toast, and sugar spiced pears for everyone but Nico. He didn't seem at all disturbed by the strange conversation, leaving them politely to themselves once they had their coffee as well. Nico had never had the occasion to meet Vane, nor any Kitsune at all. The strange seeming rules of Kitsune magic led to many questions from Nico, which Twist and the others answered as best they could. I should have stayed with you, Nico finally said on a sigh. You've had far more entertaining time than I have. Jonas chuckled, slicing into his fried eggs. Stick with us and you'll never be bored, apparently. Twist nodded, rather agreeing. He helped himself to a pot of lemon curd that the waiter had left. Pamut had already finished his pear slices and was now clearly less interested in his toast and eggs than the sweet fruit. I'm sorry if I made you wait, Tasha said, walking around the bird cage to join them. She sat beside Nico heavily. Have you gotten all of your supplies? Oh, where's Mira? She added. She's on the ship, Twist answered. Is everything all right, Tasha? Kima asked her. Twist now realized that Tasha did look rather exhausted and unhappy, though she was clearly trying to hide it. Oh, well, Tasha said with a weak smile. As I mentioned before, there is rather a lot of fear and confusion among the Rooks now that Aiden isn't here to lead them. I find myself struggling to calm anyone I talk to these days, but it's all going to be fine, she declared, sitting up slightly straighter. I'm sure of it. Nico watched her rebuild her flawless facade and then silently offered her his cup of coffee. Tasha seemed very grateful and silently took a swift and heavy draw from it. Well, we got to find 2 more charms and then we're ready to head off, Jonas told Tasha. The rest of our supplies should be delivered by the time we get back. 2 more charms? Tasha asked. Is someone joining us? The short answer is yes, Jonas said with a sigh. A friend of mine needs help. Twist's attention shifted to Jonas at the sound of the word friend. What? Jonas snapped back at him. Twist put his hands up in a silent surrender. It's a rather complicated tale, Nico told Tasha. But what's the news for the front? Any motion at all or around the village? Tasha shook her head somberly. Nothing more than we already know. There were some sightings of other cipher ships coming up from the south, but they turned off well before crossing into American airspace. It seems that Loki is perfectly happy to let himself be cornered in his village. He's still not calling in reinforcements, and still no ships have crossed the barrier, in or out. Kima sighed, frowning down at nothing at all. Jonas reached out and took her hand. Tasha fell quiet, but her eyes were filled with sympathy as she looked at Kima. Twist noticed, however, that she didn't say anything at all. Perhaps she was afraid of being overheard here in the cafe. Kima pulled herself back up out of her dark thoughts and offered Jonas a tiny nod and a passing smile, taking her hand back from him. Twist felt a hot flash of worry in the buzzing at his neck in response. Whatever's going on in there, we'll take care of it, Jonas said, his tone softer than usual but confident as well. And besides, we've now got a pair of magic samurai with us as well. Vane might be a handful, but get him to focus and he's a right terror with a sword. Just ask Twist, he added, nodding at him. For an instant, Twist was confused. Then he remembered and glanced down to the long, thin scar that arched over his right wrist from under his sleeve at the left side of his hand, up and back across the back. That had been the very first time Twist had ever stood his ground and fought with any kind of real violence. In the end, Vane's sword had caught him, and Twist had dropped his weapon. He only won the fight by sheer luck and the rather questionable decision to use his own pocket watch as a blunt instrument. Kima gave a breath of a laugh, shaking her head. I'm going back with a bunch of Europeans, Rooks, and some magical samurai. My father might disown me, she added with a smirk. You're going home to free your people from oppression, Jonas countered smugly. No matter what ragtag band of heroes you bring along with you, no father could be anything but proud of you, Kima. Kima looked back at him, clearly somewhat stunned by this heavy compliment.
Well said.
Tasha agreed, looking at Jonas with a knowing gleam in her eyes. Twist felt relieved to finally see Kima's melancholy appear to lift somewhat. And with that, we are coming to the end of the reading stream. Once again, I do want to thank you all for joining the stream, whether you're here live or you're listening to the VOD. And I do hope that you enjoyed the story as well as the reading of the story. Looking back on it, I think something I'm thinking about right now, I feel as if I need to find a way to maintain the energy throughout the reading stream, because I notice my reading tends to get a little worse towards the end of the stream. Nevertheless, everyone, I do want to thank you for, well, listening to the stream. And with that, we will have the reading stream again next Saturday. I do not foresee me canceling it. If I do, of course, I will post it onto, well, the Discord or Blue Sky at the Takanome. And I believe that is everything. So, Erudite wrote, I'm glad you're having fun reading too. It is a fun story. I very much enjoy this series. And no, I am not saying that because the author is in chat. Remember, well, for those who may not know, I did read the first half of this series years ago, so I'm very happy I get to now read the rest of it and share the stories with everyone else. But with that, I will be signing off. Everyone, have a great rest of your weekend. Take care of each other, stay safe, and I'll see you next time. Until then, take care and bye bye.